All right, welcome to this explainer. Let's just dive right in. Today, I am putting on my paranormal researcher hat as we crack open a very active and honestly very chilling case file. We're taking a look at Kolkata's most notorious transit stop. If you've ever felt that sudden, cold draft while standing on an empty subway platform, yeah, you're going to find our investigation today absolutely fascinating. So, picture this. We're starting with a terrifying real-life encounter from a Telegraph India report. A metro railway driver was crossing Rabindra Sarobar Station when he was quite literally forced to slam on the brakes. Why? Because he spotted what he fully believed was a ghost right there inside the tunnel. But when he got out to inspect the tracks, nothing. Absolutely nothing was there. So this isn't just some vague urban legend passed around online. It's a highly disruptive event that actually brought a city train to a dead halt. Moving into Section 1. The City of Joy's Underworld. Let's lay down the basic facts first. Rabindra Sarobar Metro Station is a subterranean transit hub built back in 1986. Geographically, it sits directly underneath a massive artificial lake. But historically, well, it's become infamous for a tragically high concentration of deaths on its tracks. And that immense grief has sparked decades of deep, persistent paranormal lore. Section 2. Light above the lake. Now, if you go directly above this dark station, you'll find a sheer explosion of life. Rabindra Sarobar Lake is this beautiful, sunlit paradise spanning 192 acres. We're talking 11,000 trees, some of them over 75 years old. There are 118 different recorded bird species living there. You've got people out for morning walks, doing free open-air salsa classes, rowing at clubs that date way back to the 1850s. There are even laughter yoga clubs that have been meeting there since 1966 just to relieve stress. It's the absolute definition of vitality and life. Which brings us to Section 3, Dark Below the Metro. And this is where it gets crazy because the juxtaposition here is just shocking. Up above ground, you have salsa dancing and laughter yoga. But right below that, the station holds this incredibly grim nickname, the Paradise of Suicides. That heavy, stark psychological contrast is completely central to what we're investigating today. To put that into perspective, wrap your head around this staggering percentage. According to paranormal chroniclers and local news reports, an estimated 70 to 80% of all suicides within Calcutta's entire metro network occur at this one single station. 70 to 80%. That is an immense concentration of tragedy confined to just one subterranean space. All right, let's look at the actual accounts in Section 4, evidence from commuters and drivers. We've got to start with the people who are there the most, the transit workers. The Telegraph India noted that drivers and commuters on those late-night trains frequently report seeing apparitions just taking a stroll, directly on the live tracks. Some of these accounts specifically describe these wandering figures as being completely footless, just kind of floating above the rails after hours. And then you have these incredibly specific encounters from everyday commuters. There's one widely shared account, you might have seen it on Reddit or Instagram, where a commuter was approached on the platform by a really good-looking young man. The guy just asks for his photo to be taken and then vanishes, just completely disappears into thin air. Local Laura actually claims this is the spirit of a young guy who wanted to be a model but was pressured by his family into studying medicine. Supposedly, he took his own life at the station and now wanders the platform, still looking for the camera's flash. Here's another piece of evidence. A commuter accidentally got off at Rabindra Sarobar and reported being approached by a beautiful phantom young girl. She offered a really sweet compliment and then, just like the model, completely vanished. Interestingly, the commuter noted they weren't even scared at first. They were actually just sad when they finally realized the person they were talking to wasn't alive. But it isn't just casual commuters reporting this stuff. A local paranormal investigation team actually decided to do a late-night stakeout after the station closed up around 11 p.m. While taking their electromagnetic readings, they were under strict instructions, keep the lights off, stay totally quiet. Suddenly, one of the investigators claimed to see a figure on the opposite side of the tracks, and instantly they were struck with this intense, sudden physical sickness. They flipped the lights on, and the platform is completely empty. No one there. Let's categorize this in Section 5, Phantoms on the Tracks. Organizing this sighting log is absolutely crucial if we want to understand what people are actually experiencing. We're seeing reports of distorted shadows that just sort of linger near the pillars. We've got the spectral model roaming the platform. We've got disembodied cries echoing through these empty corridors late at night. And perhaps most terrifyingly of all, phantom shadows seen actually leaping onto the tracks when the station is totally deserted. We've also managed to identify some really specific atmospheric triggers for these events. For example, commuters report this sudden eerie chom-chom. That's a Bengali term for that chilling, hair-raising sensation you get, especially when they're riding the older, non-AC coaches through the station. Also, ghostly movements are most frequently spotted inside the carriages of the very last train of the night. It's gotten so bad that local superstitions actually keep nearby residents completely away from the station after 10:24 p.m. They just avoid it, leaving the whole place in this total uneasy silence. Finally, Section 6. Fact, fiction, or fear. So what's really happening here? Well, when you confront metro authorities with these reports, they have a very grounded explanation. They basically rationalize these ghostly encounters as living, breathing trespassers. They point out unauthorized tunnel access and gaping security holes, basically saying, hey, the ghosts strolling the tracks are just real people who illegally snuck into the underground network, which honestly is almost as scary if you think about it. But then, we also have to consider the sheer power of the human mind. The psychological weight of this station's dark history is huge. Think about it. When you're standing completely alone on a dimly lit platform, and you know that 70 to 80% of the network's tragedies happened exactly where you were standing, your brain might just create a collective expectation of the supernatural. That fear of the unknown, mixed with the very real sorrow attached to the space, it can easily make shadows look like they're moving. And so, that brings us to the close of our case file for today's explainer. What do you think? Are these footless figures and disappearing models trapped souls wandering around in the subterranean dark? Are they just living trespassers and tricks of the light? Or are we just seeing the collective psychological weight of a tragic history manifesting in the minds of lonely commuters? Honestly, I'm going to leave that final judgment up to you. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and as always, stay curious.